Hello, everyone. Welcome to Designing for Wellbeing. My name is Shakib Labidi. I'm the founder of UX Playground, and I'm delighted that you are joining us today for this event. And we have an exciting round of panelists that hopefully you will interact with. You can ask questions and you can learn from their experience, and hopefully we can share some of your experience and learn from you as well. And before we actually go into the part where we have a Q&A session and learn about our panelists, we also want to do a little bit of an introduction into how it is to experience a mindful moment. And for that, I would like to ask Ruth, one of our panelists, to guide us through a short mindfulness session.
Coming off mute, which is a universal phrase. Yeah, this is just a really short meditation. So just about 3 minutes just to settle and ground yourself as best you can. So if you choose to participate, then that's great. It's obviously not compulsory, but if you feel like you've had a busy day and you're just arriving here, it might be great to put distractions aside and bring yourself and your attention here. So I'll just invite you to find an upright posture. So one way your shoulders are back and down, your chest is lifted. And just bringing the attention into the weight of the body coming down. If you're just joining, we're just starting with a very short meditation to arrive in this space. So bringing your attention to your feet and the contact points of the feet on the floor or cushion. Bringing your attention to your legs and buttocks on the chair or cushion where you're at. And your arms in your lap. So just allowing this weight of the body to come down. Just giving in to gravity for a few moments here. And then taking a gentle scan of your body from top to toe and asking yourself, what's the weather pattern like inside my body right now? So what thoughts are around? What feelings are here? And any sensations in the body? So just scanning through the body, noticing thoughts, feelings, and body sensations. Not to change anything, but as best you can to allow things to be just as they are in this moment. Just noticing. And then gathering your attention and bringing it to your breath down in your abdomen. And you can put your hand here on your abdomen if it helps you, just to feel into the sensations of breathing. So just this breath coming in and this breath going out. So we're not thinking about breathing, but feeling into the physical sensations of breathing, just as best you can. And if your mind wanders, as our minds inevitably do, just gently noticing and escorting your attention back to the breath. Nothing's gotten wrong. We're just gathering our attention back to the felt sensations of breathing. Gently breathing in and breathing out. Gently breathing in and breathing out. And for the final step in this meditation, expanding the attention out to the whole body. So as if the whole body was breathing, as if breathing through the pores of the skin. So nothing to achieve and nowhere to get to right now. We're just breathing with this whole body, just the way it is. Gently breathing in and breathing out. In and out. And just letting go of even the intention to meditate for a moment. Just sitting here, just being. When you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. Tune into the room around you again. Feel free to have a stretch or a shake, whatever your body needs to come back around. I'll hand back.
Wow. Thank you so much for everyone who just joined us. We've experienced a collective meditation session by Ruth, one of our panelists, and I definitely feel calmer. I liked your, I would say, analogy to the weather, what the weather is inside of you. I felt a little bit of the quiet before the storm. The storm has calmed, and I feel calmer, and I'm very, very happy to see everyone today. And again, thank you, Ruth, for sharing this session with us, this meditation session. Now, for everyone who just joined, again, my name is Shakib Labidi. I'm the founder of UX Playground. Today's event is all about designing for well-being. We have an exquisite panelists group that will answer your questions, and of course we want to engage with you. Feel free to use Slido, and I think a short reminder will help us as well to see of how we use Slido.
Yeah, sure. I'll just to highlight here is that some of you may have seen this already. This is to help ensure that the talk for you is engaging and insightful as possible. And what we're doing is inviting our attendees to pose questions using Slido. So you can use a QR code with your mobile scanner, or you can just jump into the browser just to kind of get some questions highlighted there for you. And feel free to vote, because that then pushes up the questions that you guys want more of the attention to. And yeah, I think we have some examples here, as you can see, that are already being posted. And the advantage, obviously, to having these questions in the Q&A here is that you'll automatically be invited to be automatically entered into the raffle, which is the exciting part of the evening. And you will also be invited to ask questions directly if you choose to, but feel free to ensure that you put the questions into Slido, and then I will then invite you in to have a discussion with the panelists directly. So got a few there.
Fantastic. And of course, designing for well-being is supported by our sponsors. We have Adobe XD, we have eSynergy Solutions, we have Sync, and we have Rosenfeld Media. And their ongoing support helps all of us as a community, and we can make this happen. And by the way, I want to thank not only the panelists for agreeing to share their knowledge and to get involved with our community, but also to our very hardworking team of volunteers. That is Jazz, we've already met, and also we have Natalie, who is basically pulling all the strings of the technical bits in the background, and is both of them a big part of our community, and of course also the other volunteers that help us organize and run these sessions. So I think the next part is really for us to look at the agenda before we crack on with the fantastic and very interesting part to introduce our panelists. So the agenda would be next, we're going to hear from our panelists. So we have a short introduction for up to 5 minutes that gives you an opportunity to learn more about our panelists and also get a sense of what type of question you may want to ask them. Then we follow with the actual Q&A part. Don't forget to pose your questions or to upvote as well. If you want to enter the raffle, pose your question. If you just want to participate and just enjoy the conversation, please still upvote the question. That helps as well. And we would like you to interact. Don't forget that anyone who poses a question can also, when we answer the questions, can also share the camera. We would like to see your faces. We would like to connect with you even more. So at about 7:55, we have the raffle where we announce the winner, and we have some fantastic prizes. So, I want to encourage you to participate in the Q&A. Networking is at 8 o'clock. So we have about 15 minutes where we want to just have a good time in network. And then at 8:50, we say goodbye and thank everyone for participating, of course. But before we do that, I think it's time for the introduction of our fantastic team of, I would say, for our panelists, right? So I would like to start with Ruth, actually.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we need to. Exactly. Hi, Ruth. So, Ruth, you've done this fantastic introduction for us where we really had a chance to break away from our routine. And if you have done, I'm talking now to the audience, if you had a chance, if you participated in the 3 minutes of meditation that we did at the start of this event, you probably felt that there was a bit of a relief as well, and you were able to focus on something else, or maybe not focus and just let things go and accept and enjoy that as well. So with that in mind, Ruth, how did you get into this whole kind of mindfulness aspect of your profession?
Sure. And just to say that if you found that meditation like hugely distracting and you were feeling really agitated or anything like that, that's okay too. It's a little bit of a myth that mindfulness is about clearing the mind and having like this blissful state, and more about awareness, like, oh, this is where I'm at right now. Okay, tension in the chest, bit of a headache, really tired. That's as much fine as clear mind, feeling good. There's no judgment there. So it's about our ability to be aware and kind to ourselves and curious about what's going on. So just to say that, but yes, to your question, I got into mindfulness through my own anxiety and low mood. I tend not to use the word depression because it has a bit of a weight for me as well. So I say low mood. That's where when I was working at Intel Corporation, which is where I actually had a great time in my career, but I also got quite stressed and a bit lonely in my work and didn't think I was capable of doing the stuff I was. And I sort of ploughed on for better or worse, but I was finding that I was trying to fix myself. I had really bad insomnia, really bad anxiety on a daily basis that would kind of come and go. And I'd be frequently found in the self-help section of a bookshop, like, right, what is the next thing that can fix me? Because I'm clearly broken. And the difference with mindfulness was, when I learned about it wasn't about fixing me. It was more of a practice. It was like, oh yeah, your mind's just behaving like it's scared, it's fearful. So this is a way of effectively, over time, nurturing your brain and rewiring it in a way that it can hold the experience and waves of life differently. So it's more about perspective, more about awareness between us and our thoughts, so that we can have a new relationship with them. Because all of us have, downright scary thoughts sometimes, or mildly irritating thoughts. So this is more about, this is a habit of mine. Like, this is what I'm noticing. And this really the evidence shows this is built up over weeks and months of practice and years. I've been doing it for about 11 years, but I'm still doing it every day because it's really important to build that practice. And to kind of to show really how this links to leadership, which is a lot of the work I focus on now, is that I found when working with organizations that mindfulness could be a bit of a sticky plaster. If you didn't work with the leaders, they could be unintentionally undoing all of the good work. So it's really important that leaders work on themselves as people in their organizations, as people that lead. And that involves things like mindfulness are a vehicle for doing it, but also some of the core ways that leaders can develop their skills are around things like listening and coaching skills and creating a safe space for a team. So when I was thinking about this event and how we design teams for well-being, those were the things that came to mind. And on top of that, things like challenge, being able to directly challenge each other in a compassionate way. Because we're all kind of rocking up into this world at different places and we all need to work and improve. So we need people to step up to us and say, in a caring way, we need a line manager or someone that's there to give us feedback to say, this isn't cool, or you could do better at this, or like, this is great, but lean into this more because I know you're better at that. We need that kind of feedback. That's about well-being too. And finally, it's about fun. It's about play. It's about taking the heaviness. Like, the life is bloody serious at the moment. It's kind of it sometimes. So we really need to bring a sense of play, a sense of enjoyment and lightness into our work. And these cultures can be developed through things like coaching and training, ways in which we can collaborate more effectively. And it starts with ourselves, with self-awareness. So yeah, I'm conscious that I've done about 4 minutes, so I'll pause because I could go on, but
No, this is really, really interesting. Obviously, that last aspect that you mentioned, the playfulness, is essential for us at UX Playground, right? Because we believe that design and user experience design is very much about that collaboration, exploration, and play bit, which is, of course, in the professional world, very much not necessarily seen as an area that should be considered for a profession to be used as a method or as a way of engaging people, because it's associated with maybe with kids, right? Or with games that maybe distract from being productive, because it's all about being productive and being efficient, right? And so I really like that aspect that of the three that you mentioned, in particular the playfulness. And yeah, I think there will be lots of questions for you to from our audience. I can see already that we have more and more questions coming up, which is fantastic. Bradley, hello, Bradley.
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad. I'm actually very, very excited that we have so many people joining us today. And now I'm sure our members want to learn from you and want to hear about what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, super excited to be here, especially on such an awesome panel as well. I'm excited to dig into these questions. From my side, I'm a product designer. I've been a product designer for the last, I guess, 7, nearly 8-ish around there sort of years. And the last sort of 4 or 5 of those have been focused around designing for mental health and sort of designing for well-being. And that was sort of a shift that came from me after spending a lot of time in agencies working with like engagement products that were sort of engagement for the sake of engagement, that really sort of built into gamification and sort of wasn't really providing a lot of value in sort of people's lives. I went through this bit of like an existential crisis almost, where I was like, I'm a designer and I love design, but I like hate these products that I'm working on and a lot of the products in the world. And I became pretty anti-tech for a little bit. And that was when I sort of stumbled across a project that was actually in the mental health space. And actually the project was all about connecting teenagers with their therapists through a mobile app. And that sort of completely like flipped a switch for me in my mind. And I was like, wait, you mean I can actually design products that really help people? Like, this is incredible. And sort of since then, mindful design, ethical design, designing for mental health products, whatever sort of way you put it, has been really where my focus has been. So I started a company a few years ago called Cause, and our whole focus was on designing mental health products. And together we designed products that provided mental health support to areas of the rural United States where they didn't have access to doctors or sort of psychologists or therapists. We designed products that helped people recovering from opioid addiction. So like really sort of varied, but sort of all around this idea of mental health. And then for the last sort of nearly 2 years, I've actually been a product designer at Facebook, where I've been working on building support and integrity experiences to reduce the number of bad experiences that happen across Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger products. So this has been sort of a pretty consistent theme for me of I guess like helping people through design for the last 4 or 5 years, and hoping to sort of continue it, and yeah, excited to have some interesting conversation with you all today, and yeah, maybe share some of the things that I've learned along the way.
Fantastic. I'm always fascinated by the fact that I learn more and more about people. I mean, I know Bradley for some time now and have seen him as well going through different phases in his life, and learning about his motivation to actually, or the reason behind doing this is fascinating. And I think there will be a lot of questions again that our audience want to ask you. Okay, we have Avril, our lovely panelist, who can tell us a bit more about what she does.
I don't know how you follow Ruth and Bradley, to be perfectly honest with you. I feel like, crikey, no pressure. Talk about amazing. So by day, I'm the interim executive director for data and technology at the Royal Institute of British Architects. Say that a few times. By night, my passion is my startup. And I'm founder and CEO of Cancer Central. And basically, I've worked in technology for all my career. I'm probably one of the oldest one here. Effectively, I was on my merry way, as you do. It's all going great. Career's taking off. Went over into the land of interim, and then got rudely interrupted by breast cancer. Mega shock. There's no one with cancer in my family. It wasn't like, we're more on the stroke and heart attack side of things. This is very cheerful, sorry. I kind of went, oh, okay, great. And of course, I was literally just finishing a contract. So that meant I was off work. And I was off work for a year as I went through treatment and went through that recovery and everything else. Now, sort of during that, I'm going to give you 2 examples of really what started Cancer Central for me. And the first one was I was going to go through chemo. I was going to lose my hair. Okay, I can order a soft, fluffy hat from the internet. Yes, but you know what? I'm bored. I want to go out. I want to have some lunch. Let's try some hats on. Do I want the ones with the little lines or the little rosy thing that goes on here? Let's just try it, see what works for me. So I went on to a very famous search engine, typed in, hello, chemo hats in Eastbourne, blah, blah, blah. 2 hours later, I think my mum was extracting me, because I was back home at that point, extracting me from the from the computer, going, stop it. And I was like, why can't I find it? And basically what was happening was, all the results were coming back from the States. Love the States. Wasn't the time to go on holiday. I just needed to kind of find out what was in East Sussex. Thank you very much. And I thought, it's a bit weird. I'd like to think I could search. I'm not, being a technologist, you like to think you can use a search engine. I thought it's a bit bizarre. So anyway, you carry on, and then you meet people, as you do. You meet people, whether it's in the, through sort of cancer events, or whether it's in the waiting room, or whether it's being drugged up, or whatever. And they basically share stuff with you. If you so happen to remember and have that conversation and spark up the discussion, you know what things are like. So I don't know if you guys have heard of the Willow Foundation. And I really, really hope they still survive through the lockdown. They're an incredible charity. So I wouldn't type into a very famous search engine, diagnosed with cancer, under age of 40, nice day out. What was that? I didn't even know special days was available. And what they do is they give people between the ages of 17, 19 to 40 with their families a nice day out, a memory. You know, we went to the theatre. It was an amazing day. You know, we went to London, saw a show. It was really cool. Some people go to football matches, whatever it is that it is. It creates that memory. And then I started thinking, this is ridiculous. You know, there's all this stuff out there. It exists. You have very, very localized support. What about all those people that club together to help people go to their daily radiotherapy sessions? It might just be a Facebook group. How on earth do you find them? It shouldn't be that hard. So really, that's where Cancer Central came from. How can create a central place in order for people to go there and actually find the information about support and services that they need? When we talk about UX, it's user-centered design. It's about me, what I need. It's about coming to you. So I'm going to do a little bit of a demo with you stuff, but one of the things I want to share with you that's really important is I've always said Cancer Central should never be based on my journey. We do something called communivation, which is community and innovation. You could totally steal that. We're going to get it in Wikipedia, right? So communivation, and you know, the whole thing, the whole organization is being built through pro bono. So far we've received over 40,000 donated hours from over 250 individuals and 35 organizations. What I'm going to show you is totally built through everyone giving their time, giving licenses, giving support, from the policy to the design to the actual development, absolutely everything. It's been absolutely amazing. We're here with all our talents creating it for those affected by cancer. So let me show you kind of a couple of things what I mean, because I'm going to give you a little bit of an exclusive preview because we're building our next gen platform. And at that point, I'm going to go cut the recording.
I think this is a fantastic bridge into, you know, getting our audience or members to pose questions, right? Because obviously you've given a very practical example, which I find very impressive, based on a need, based on the fact that there was nothing that would actually fill this need, and no easy ways of getting to where you want to be, where you want to be at. And I think with the questions, maybe we can take some advantage of this collective, the collective questions that we have. Jazz,
Yeah.
any particular that we're gonna choose here?
Yeah, sure. So just to kind of a recap quickly, because we had a few questions from the audience regarding entering into the raffle. So to get yourself automatically entered into the raffle, all you need to do is jump into Slido and pose your question there. So you've got the QR code, which you can scan with your mobile, or you can jump into the browser and just enter in the code, which is provided there. And so as you pose the question, the idea is that the panelists will then choose what question they found insightful, inspiring, and we'll pick 2 winners that will go on to winning a prize. So more details will follow after that, but for now, obviously, we'll focus on getting those questions answered. We've got so many already. So we'll start with, I suppose I will suggest starting with the first one here, which has got the most votes. So we'll try and get those. Oof, technical issue.
Maybe we could say that if you vote, that would also help us to filter some of the questions and prioritize them. Mm-hmm. So even if you don't pose a question, maybe you find a question that you want to get answered.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got one here from Jim, which he says here, screen time is a big issue. How does designing for well-being through the medium of technology contradict this concept? So I'll hand this over to the panelists if you want to answer that.
I'm happy to go first, and I'm going to lean on Bradley for this one. But certainly for me, Jim, I have been looking at this question for the last hour and a half, 2 hours since you posted it, and it's brilliant. And the reason why it's brilliant, it does contradict. You know, we're using technology, yet we need to do that. So obviously, going back to what I said before, why are you doing that? What is the purpose of what you're looking for as a well-being? What is the need? Is it to find information? How do I do that? Obviously, you know, our Scout can activate through Facebook Messenger. I'm just about to sort of turn that on, but I'm on Facebook, therefore I want that information. How do you get that information, and how do you do the service? But actually, let's switch it on its head. I was thinking about this, and Ruth, you inspired me with the relaxation. you know, I when I sometimes struggle to sleep, I go onto YouTube and I do that sleep music. And you know, some of them are fantastic, but what the hell? They've got this glaring, my phone's still on light, and you know, it's mountain change. I'm trying to sleep and my eyes, I can see this thing change in the dark. You know, the best effective design is giving you black screen. I just, it sounds so simple, but it's about black screen so I can hear the music, because my well-being is trying to listen to the music, but I can't turn my phone off to get the black screen, if you see what I mean. So stop overcomplicating it. What is the purpose? Is it finding information? Is it finding a service? Is it connecting with other people? Is it about relaxation? And therefore, you need to tone down the design accordingly. So certainly, yeah, Ruth, with your relaxation, it reminded me of my black screen episode and nearly freaking out on one of my YouTube choices at night. It woke me up rather than go to sleep because it started flashing. I was like, ah!
Would you like to add something to it, Bradley or Ruth, or would you like to choose another question? Feel free to choose any that you see on the screen.
I don't really have anything to add to that, other than I guess just to echo parts of it. Like, it's definitely, I guess I would say it's not necessarily contradictory. Like, it can be if we start to think about, like, oh, here's an app that helps you stop using your phone or something like that. It can start to feel a little bit like, that's interesting. But I think actually designing for well-being goes a lot deeper than just designing apps that make you calm, or designing meditation apps or therapy apps. Like, designing for well-being is really a concept that we can take through in the choices and the decisions we make for any product, as Avril sort of pointed out, especially like really taking into account that use case, and also just understanding your product's position in somebody's life, and not sort of inserting yourself in sort of places where it may not be wanted. So, you know, in the instance of like push notifications, you know, being incredibly mindful with the frequency and sort of the value that they're providing, or things like that. Basically, it's not so much a well-being app or a product experience. It's more about like carrying that mindset throughout all products, no matter sort of what they're doing.
I think this is a very important insight, because obviously when a topic like well-being is relatively new, right, to a generation, we see things coming in cycles, right? This whole aspect of environment and the friendliness and eco, that's something that we had a few decades ago, is coming again, right? And it has a different, let's say, it looks a little bit different, but we're talking about the same thing. Same with well-being, right? We had a lot in the 60s and 70s with people doing yoga and doing this mindfulness approach. So I think these days it's something completely different. And when we talk about utilizing this knowledge and the power of mindfulness in design, and we actually can design this experience, what does it actually mean, right? And you give a nice example of you know, the frequency of notifications, which is something very mundane and something that we don't even think about, right? But that this can have an impact and subconsciously make you feel maybe stressed and anxious, by having the awareness and making very conscious decision as product developers, owners, business analysts, is a power that we have, right? Fantastic.
Just to add to that as well, is I think, because we have to be very careful when we use the word mindfulness. Mindfulness being aware of the present moment just as it is right now, bringing curiosity and kindness, which might be like feeling discomfort in the body. That is okay. I'm not saying it's okay in life, but that is mindfulness. And a lot of apps and things designed to help us with well-being are actually about distraction. They're like, forget about life and go into this escapist world, which is absolutely fine, but it's not mindfulness. Mindfulness is about teaching you how to respond to the now, however easy or difficult it is. So it's really interesting that word can get used for like relaxation, distraction, all these types of things. But it's actually, sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes it's sitting with difficult stuff and being like, oh, I'm just going to explore the sensations in my body as they are. So it's, yeah, I just wonder how much distraction actually just feeds anxiety half the time.
That's a good point, actually. It's a very good point. I wonder if we should just move on to another question. We have so many questions, and
of course,
I'm
there's,
very
there's plenty to go through. Yeah,
very
it's great.
aware
And
that
yeah. What I was going to also ask as well, is there anyone of the audience members that would actually want to ask the questions directly? And if so, just raise your
yes.
hand. So in Zoom, there's an option for you to raise your hand. And what I can do is invite you in, and then you can actually ask that question directly as well. So feel free to do that. In the meantime, until anyone's ready to do so, we've got one up here. So how do you each measure well-being? How's that even measured when thinking about designing for well-being?
I can jump in on that one first,
Yeah,
if
sure.
nobody else wants
Yeah.
to. I think, designing for well-being from a product design perspective, and at least in the way I've been looking at it, it really just comes down to more about, I guess, good design, and truly sort of like meeting people where they are, and focusing on the purpose of the product itself. I think the design industry and sort of like the tech industry for a long time had very sort of like skewed metrics and skewed focus on things like, sort of like daily active users, for example, or how much time is spent on your product, or how engaged it was, or how many actions they completed. And instead, I think moving towards metrics that actually highlight and sort of center around the value that your product provides, and really like focusing on the design and sort of on optimizing for that is really how I would measure, I guess, well-being, from at least from a product design perspective. It's just like focusing on your sort of specific quadrant and not overwhelming people with anything outside of that.
I can go next. Bradley, I wholeheartedly agree with you. And I think there's something that you've probably started to see, and it's actually sort of pioneered by Rob Stevenson from Inside Out. And this is more on the mental health side. And again, Ruth, I'm conscious about the wording and everything I'm using. So there's lots of different facets to well-being. But from a mental health perspective, when we start scoring the form, you'll maybe start to see on sort of LinkedIn, like 7 out of 10, 8.1, all those kind of things. This is about demonstrating where you are. And it's about sort of creating that measurement. So I've met Rob a few times now. I'm sort of learning a bit more myself, to be honest, about how it works and bits and pieces. But how do I personally measure well-being? Not going to lie, I'm on a shed load of tablets. I rattle. I never used to turn up to my chemist and they know me by first name now. It's totally embarrassing. Because obviously when you go through treatment, you still got all that post-treatment stuff. So a concoction of tablets, some of them being, you can imagine what it sort of does to you. I have never experienced an anxiety attack before, but hey, off we go. And then, and it can trigger through the weirdest things. And for me, it doesn't trigger through work. It's life admin. For some reason, I can kind of like everything else, but I seem to get myself in a right issy fit. I've got my home insurance to do this weekend. I don't know how I'm going to fit it in. Get a grip, girl. What's wrong with you? You used to be able to do this. So that measurement for me isn't prescriptive. That measure for me is literally about feeling and trusting myself. And it is believing, trusting, giving you space. And that is what's really, really, really important, is we have to listen to ourselves. If you need that time out, if you can't make that Zoom call because you're zoomed out and you just can't face anyone, even though they're your bestest buddies in the entire world, they'll get it. They really, really will. So that measurement, I'm going to pass on now, that measurement must be internal for me.
I feel this comes obviously also with life experience, right? Because when we're younger, we expose ourselves to more of this situation, put ourselves maybe more under pressure, maybe. But over time, we reflect maybe on things more. At least some people manage to do that. And with that, maybe we want to exclude some of the previous not so good experience and don't want to have too many things happening at the same time. So that is the ideal situation, right? But it takes maybe a long time to get into that place. And sometimes we fall into bad habits, or we are pulled into the everyday stuff, and we forget ourselves and the needs that we have, right? And don't listen to ourselves. I feel the question is just standing out for me, that Christian has, and I know we're jumping to, we're skipping one. We're going back to the previous question, but Christian's question: how can companies design for well-being for their employees? And I know that's something that Ruth can help us to maybe shed some light in how you can lead for well-being.
Yeah, I mean, I always say start at the top and on the edge, like especially if it's a small business or small to medium-sized business who don't have big budgets for investing in training or supporting employees. But if we're going to change the culture in any organization, it has to start at the top. It has to start at the top and the way the people at the top behave. There's nothing like great well-being than having a great manager or someone that looks at you like you're capable of everything. And if you can get leaders to continually work on themselves, and I say that including myself, who continually works on myself, to be at a point where it's like, this continuous improvement stuff that we do in technology, let's do it on ourselves. Let's see how we can evolve ourselves to be getting the best out of other people, that we can have so much faith in them that they're gonna skyrocket. And simple things, just one example, as simple as the way you look at someone, and this is the basis of coaching training, the way you look at someone like they can solve all their own problems, not that you need to give them loads of advice, can make a huge shift in the way they see themselves. Often we look at people a little bit like, I don't know what you should do. Maybe you should take my advice. Whereas if we look at people like they have the answers, if only they would listen to themselves or explore them a little bit more, then people's confidence and well-being can really improve.
How do you find this when you go into companies and you help the leaders to establish a more mindfulness approach? How do you, maybe you can give our audience a little bit of some tips maybe of what they can do within their teams and within their environment to foster and make space for a more well-being approach in design and product development.
Very, very specific and very easy to do is to really focus on listening. There's a fantastic book called Time to Think by Nancy Klein, which is all about listening and creating what she calls a thinking environment. And by allowing people the space to be heard, people are able to think better. Most of us think when we talk. We're all different, I know that. But quite often when we express, we're thinking. And we'll have quiet people in a team who maybe don't say as much so much. But if we were all given, for example, we have a problem, right? Everyone's got 3 minutes to input on this problem. You don't have to use the whole 3 minutes, but I'm going to tell you now, you're not going to be interrupted. You will see culture shift because suddenly there's a safe space. People aren't jumping in and people are really listening to each other. So evolving something as simple as the attention we provide to other people and the amount we can let them speak can be huge.
There's some very useful tips, and they sound very kind of like something that we can do easily, right? But I think the challenge is the different culture that you have in each of these organizations, and finding someone that supports you in this, right? As you said, it starts from the top. Having said that, personally, I experienced that if you get some support, even if you're not at the very top, you can make those small changes and you can establish something that helps the team. But of course, if you want this to be company-wide, it has to be approached from multiple angles, right?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So we've got a few hands raised, so we can invite one of the audience members in.
Fantastic. Yeah, let's do that.
So I'm going to invite Victor in because he was the first one with his hand up. Yeah. The screen will shift, so don't panic. It will adjust, and then you'll be in the call with us. So bear with me. Okay, so he should be invited in now. And here he is. Hello.
Hello, Victor.
Sorry, I had to switch to my phone because my computer doesn't have a camera. I'm going to be mindful with your guys' time. I'd like to thank the panelists for inviting me in. Quick background is I do manage a fitness center. I do work with a corporate company. And one of the biggest meetings we're running into is kind of creating that mental health piece when COVID does subside, and like, what could we do? And then some more background is I'm a current UX student, studying at a career foundry. As with this whole COVID, I thought like we're making less of an impact just being stuck at home, and I can't help any of these members do, like, how do you take care of yourself when all these things are crashing down? And I'm hitting this mental barrier, and I'm talking with my colleagues. It's like, we need to adopt tech, and we need to be able to be innovative, and we're figuring out ways to do that. So hence why I went into UX design, and I saw a whole can of opportunities. I'm like, we need to kind of double down on this. And another quick background is with our CRM, this is where it kind of sparked the moment. It's like, oh, UX is actually an industry. I was so confused. But there's so many pain points and frustrations, and users, by the time they find that this was frustrating in the first 2 seconds, they're already gone. And so I did post a bunch of Slido questions, and I thought it'd be best for me to just kind of come on and kind of hammer that all at once. So if you guys do have a quick time, like, I don't know if you saw it, some of them are quite generic questions because I'm still new, I'm still in my boot camp, and we haven't gone into like the UI or the color style component yet. But I was wondering, does that play a factor in users' well-being, like color or the contrast or whatnot? Other problems essentially is like, I think Ruth was talking in with how do you incorporate mindfulness in a fast-paced environment, or isn't that contradictory? Like, it's just, the idea is to get away from the screen or away from the phone, and you guys were mentioning like just black out the screen. Yeah, anyways, I don't want to conjungle my question, but the ideal question I really want to get out is, how do I move forward, or how do I influence my top management on being like, we need to focus on the UX, and we need to focus on the mental health of the well-being of these employees? Like, that time is coming soon, especially in Alberta. We plan on reopening maybe in the next month. So I'm trying to brainstorm, and I have no one else to bounce ideas off to, hence why I thought this webinar was like a 2-for-1 special for me. Anyway.
Well, it is. I guess you have 3 experts that you can, direct your question to. Any of the 3 who would like to answer this? Very interesting question, by the way.
I can jump in briefly on that sort of question you had around like the visual design and sort of just like the experience itself. I think like, and then I'll pass it over to the other folks. Like, I think just briefly, it definitely has a huge sort of component and a huge sort of impact. I think like, not necessarily just in terms of like color psychology, but if you think about like the amount of focus something that's an extremely busy experience requires, and the amount of like mental strain and energy that sort of takes to kind of decipher something, versus like something that's quite simple and sort of straightforward and maybe more soothing. I think like the decisions that you make around like, decluttering the experience and sort of reducing cognitive load of the person that's using the product as much as possible, those are like some really sort of like simple and quick wins, and sort of, as you mentioned, around like the color and like UI, like those are some things to keep in mind. But I'll pass over to other folks if they want to jump in on the other parts of the question too.
Victor, first of all, absolutely fabulous to meet you, and good luck on your journey. It sounds absolutely brilliant. I'm going to put my slightly different hat on. I'm an exec, I'm a member of the board. So I'm going to answer it as if you've come to me as an exec. What would I look for? What would I need? So I'm a bit kind of skewed in the sense that I have the advantage. I work in technology, so I understand what user experience is and what user design is. I mean, what an amazing area of technology to work in. You influence, you provide real impact. The trouble we have, and I'm going to do the royalry as an exec right now, is our life is based on data, facts. We want to become more data-driven organizations and things like that. So how do you do that? If you have time, and this is the difficulty, Victor, here, but if you have time, what really starts to show is, actually providing those examples as almost like a previous, when it was a bit busy, and, who was engaging with it, why, how long did they stay, all that kind of really good analytical information that you get from the performance, how people feel. See if you could do some polls on that, getting some user groups together, and then showcase the difference. You know what, if we really focus on people's mental health and we put that into the design part, you know, we talk about security by design, you know, let's do well-being by design. If we start doing that, actually, here is the step change difference. This is the stickiness you're going to get. This is the support you're going to get. This actually, from a brand reputation, is going to give you this. So what I would sort of suggest to you and I would advise to you is, particularly those senior members that don't get technology, don't get user design, show them if you do it this way, show them the impact if you do this way, and then you've got some real metrics there to start showing. Sorry, I know well-being metrics doesn't work, but that's how execs and board thinks. You've got to find a way to translate it.
You tapped into something very interesting, something that I do in our courses, and even with the work that I do with as a consultant with companies, use is comparison. If you have something to compare to, then it is much more obvious what direction you need to take to improve something, right? So without talking or getting people to make a decision without having the comparison is very difficult. So if you're aiming to convince someone, you really need to show them what the difference is between what you are proposing and what's currently available. And maybe one final thing, because I see that we actually should now be at the Raffle part already, is the fact that I think businesses do struggle because of this whole mindfulness. This well-being aspect has something to do with our emotional state. Emotions, feelings are difficult to measure in that sense that it requires more qualitative research approach, right? We can use numbers and can quantify things, but it's also about our feelings that we express through the things that we say. And that requires, like I said, more like a research approach in terms of qualitative data. And that's something still a lot of organizations find it difficult. They don't fully understand the value or see the value in qualitative research. They just want to live in pie charts and in quantitative data. And I think these are two aspects that you find difficult. But again, through comparison, you might find a way of showing, okay, that's something that we could achieve, right? If we change the perspective, right? Jazz, how are we with time now?
So yeah, we probably need to jump onto the Raffle side of things, but I hope that's answered your question for you, Victor. And
definitely, no, I appreciate you guys all taking the time and putting that providing me with insights, because I am trying to create something out of nothing, and I appreciate all the things I'm going to take, and I'll use it for it, definitely.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'll leave it to you, Jess.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm just going to send you back. Hold on. I'll just give you. Okay, cool.
Yeah, fantastic. I do think before we go to the Raffle,
yes,
we do have a announcement to make, and I am actually very proud of what we as a team achieved, and the community. That means you guys been involved as well. You did provide us with some feedback. We are now officially in this event announcing Project UX, which is not a course, which is not a boot camp, but it's Project UX. So basically, we have created a new learning format that connects you with a company, and you, as either a person new to UX design or someone who has some experience in UX design but wants to maybe expand on his or her portfolio, you will be joining a team of professionals. We have various teams depending on the size of the people, so people signing up, and you will be going through a process of using sprint methodology, agile methodology, in order to work on a project brief, and you will work with a real client on a product. So you learn and apply. So the end product is something that you can use to start a conversation with either a client or potential employers. So this is something really exciting for us. So if you want to learn more about Project UX, please go onto our website, uxplayground.co.uk/project UX. And I can tell you already, if you want to join, and you are not a member of UX Playground or Meetup yet, please do so, because you will get a huge discount from our introductory price. And of course, we have limited space because it's an online format that we have chosen. Let us know if you have any questions. I'm very excited to hear from you. And now I'm handing over to Jazz again to see who will win our 2 prizes.
Yeah, sure. So just to kind of recap, the idea was that if you pose a question, you'll automatically be entered into the raffle. And in order for us to decide who wins, it will be down to our panelists to pick 2 people that had the most insightful or interesting questions that they have posted. So panelists, when you have a moment, it would be great to get your favorite questions. Oh, should I just quickly go back to that? Sorry.
I've got one here I can share. That's a great question. Yeah. So it's from Dimitris Startis, and he said, "Do you believe that wellness will be able to win over hardcore business values that are always pushing towards more profit, no matter the human cost or human
Okay,
state?"
great. So you're picking Dimitris, yeah?
Yeah, and very briefly to say,
yes,
I think that more and more they can be one in the same. That well-being and profit can be, yeah.
Perfect.
We can still make money and look after people.
So what I'm going to do is, Dimitris, I'm going to invite you into the panel as one of the winners.
So and maybe we can look at the second person, right?
Second person, yes. So we need one more to be in with the winning.
There's so many great questions.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
Thank you for picking my question.
Gosh,
not really because I'm winning, but because I believe it's a really, it's a really buzzing my head for quite some time, and I still cannot. I'm a UX designer, by profession. For the last 2 or 3 years, I have lost count, but this is something that is still bothering me, and I believe it's a question that we cannot really exactly answer, but we have to be aware of it and see where it leads us. So yeah, I think it's good enough just to be heard.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah. So I think we need one more.
I think Bradley and I are being polite. I'm going, Bradley, it's all right, you can pick. Bradley's going, no, Apple, you can pick. I got a love of it. So if you don't mind,
yes,
I'm going to go Jim. I'm
Jim.
Still, yeah, because he made me think. And all of these questions make me think, but that one really stumped me. I was like, and that for me is a good question. You have to really, really try and work out what the answer is.
What would be your alternative? I'm just asking. I'm just asking because Jim.
I see. What would be my alternative? Hang on. Oh, I had about.
It's not that we don't want Jim to win, but Jim did win previously.
Did he?
And Jim is actually one of our team members.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Jim, you should have told me. Okay, hang on. See. Oh God, the pressure. Do I get the little countdown clock?
Yeah, I think the countdown has started already.
I was going to say, let's not put too much pressure on her.
There's a great one on screen right now.
So which one is it, Bradley?
I'm not trying to take the choice away from you.
Go for it. No, because no, you do it. Go for it.
The idea of this question from Jack on, we tend to see designing addictive experiences as negative. Are there any cases where it could be beneficial?
Okay.
Can I briefly answer that while we invite him in?
Sure. Yeah, do that. I'm going to invite you in.
Yeah. So I think this is one of the most interesting questions, because I think for a long time I saw gamification and habit forming as such dirty, terrible words that we should stay away from at all costs. And I think actually over the past sort of period of time, I've been looking at it more and more, and actually there are a lot of positive use cases for incentivizing. And so we've done this in a couple of projects with Cause previously, particularly around mental health and sort of things like depression check-in apps and sort of spending time and achieving sort of goals with your friends and family. These are all things that we use these gamification elements for, and it's that as long as we're doing it responsibly and as long as we're doing it for the well-being of the person, absolutely, I think there's always a good sort of beneficial use case for it.
Okay, great. So Jack has been invited in.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Thank you.
There you are.
Hello,
there you are.
Hey, Jack.
Thank you very much.
No worries.
Yeah.
Can I
Okay.
take the whipping? Woo, to the whipping.
Yay. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to jump into the fun bit. So raffle time. So what we're going to do is get you two to pick one of the prize, prize A or prize B. So who wants to go first?
Dimitri, after you, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's go for prize A.
So you're going to
No,
go
I
for
want prize A. The prize B is lovely. It's yellow and lovely. I'll have
Yeah,
prize
so
B.
you're going to go
Very much.
prize B. Okay, great. So for prize A, drum roll, please. Not that we have one. Yay. Okay, so you are going to win a £200
What?
towards any product sold on the Apple Store, and it's our Apple Store.
Yes, it's the UX Playground Apple Store. Yes. By Sync.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Really, yeah, that's huge. Thank you very much.
It's quite an evening, isn't it?
Well, yes, I wasn't expecting the day to end like this.
Fantastic. Let's see what Jack has won.
Yeah, so Jack, you have won. So you got a choice here. You have
my wife will be very happy.
£100 voucher to sparbreaks.com. So they sell spa experiences. So you can use a voucher to redeem against that. Or you've got the choice, it's one or the other, of a book from Rosenfeld. So you don't have to decide now, but you have a choice.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So yeah, what we will need from you guys is just to let us know your details and we'll get in touch.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you very
Exciting
much.
stuff. No worries.
What an evening.
Yeah.
I would say thank you so much, everyone, for joining us and to learn more about designing for well-being. I definitely learned something new this evening, and with our fantastic panelists, hopefully we shed some light into this area, which is very exciting and so important for all of us, right? Yes, again, let us you come together for our next event, but before, feel free to go on the UX Playground website to figure out, or find out more about UX Project UX. And of course, if you want to become a member of UX Playground or Meetup, just scan the code and join us. We are planning already our next event, and if you liked it, share it on social media, invite your friends and colleagues to learn more about how we can create better product experiences. If you have any topics that you want us to cover, if you have any expertise in a certain area that you want to like to share as a panelist or speaker, please get in touch with us. It was a very, very nice evening. We are staying for a few more minutes to network. For everyone else who has to leave, thank you so much. And I think all of us can say we've been really, really blessed to have you as an audience, and have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.